One rainy night, a stranger pulled into a small-town garage and left behind a gift that would change everything. What started as a simple act of kindness turned into a life Grace never imagined. If you think small choices don't matter, this story will prove you wrong. She worked alone in a dim garage, scraping by with busted tools and calloused hands. That stormy night, when a tired trucker limped in, she offered help without hesitation. No charge, no fuss. She had no idea who he truly was. Weeks later, the sound of a diesel engine echoed again. But this time, it carried something that would bring her to her knees, overwhelmed by a gift she never imagined. Hit like and comment where you're watching from. Your support brings more amazing stories. Now let's begin. Grace Monroe's garage was modest. Nothing fancy, just a small concrete building off a quiet highway where most trucks rolled past without stopping. But for Grace, it was her world. Every bolt tightened, every engine fixed was a testament to years of hard work and dedication. She had talent few could match, a skill honed from a lifetime around machinery in Greece. Yet business had been slow, the town was sleepy, the roads less traveled, and her income barely covered rent and supplies. At 35, Grace carried herself with quiet confidence. There was a natural grace in the way she moved, a beauty that wasn't just skin deep, but born from resilience and honesty. Her face was framed by dark brown hair, often pulled back loosely, and her hazel eyes held a spark of determination. She was no stranger to long nights or tough days, and the storm rolling in only added to the weight pressing on her shoulders. The rain started steady, pattering against the roof and windows. Inside the dim garage, shadows danced across the tools scattered on worn shelves. Grace wiped grease off her hands with a rag and listened as distant headlights approached, cutting through the storm's roar. A semi-truck lumbered to a halt just outside. The engine coughed and died. A man climbed down, soaked to the bone and tired beyond words. He was older with weathered features that told stories of countless miles on the road. His flannel shirt clung to him, drenched by the relentless rain. Grace opened the garage door without hesitation. "Come in, let's get you out of the storm." The man introduced himself quietly as Jack. Grace got to work, flashlight in hand, diagnosing the stubborn engine. Hours passed under the flickering light as she tightened bolts, replaced parts, and fought against time and weather. No assistance, no fancy equipment, just raw skill and stubborn will. When the engine finally roared back to life, Jack looked relieved. He reached for his wallet, but Grace stopped him. "You look like you've had a long road. Just get home safe," she said softly. Jack nodded, his gratitude deep, but unspoken. He climbed into his cab and disappeared into the night, the rain swallowing the truck's tail lights. Grace closed the door behind him, the quiet of the garage settling in again. Exhausted, she leaned against the frame, hope flickering in her heart despite the struggles ahead. The next morning, Grace woke to a sky still heavy with clouds, the air crisp and cool after the storm's passing. The garage smelled faintly of oil and wet earth, a scent she had come to know intimately. She pushed open the door and stepped outside, her eyes scanning the empty highway. The night's visitor was gone, leaving no trace except a faint echo of gratitude she couldn't quite place. Days passed with the usual rhythm, small repairs, tired engines, and the slow drip of customers who rarely stayed long. Grace worked tirelessly, her hands stained with grease, but her spirit unbroken. She found solace in the routine, the hum of tools, the smell of rubber, the steady beat of her own determination. Yet in quiet moments, a small hope flickered, sparked by the memory of the stranded trucker and the unspoken thanks she had received. Her neighbors noticed the subtle change. Mrs. Keller, the woman who ran the diner down the road, stopped by one afternoon with a warm smile and a cup of coffee. "You handled that stormy night like a pro," she said, eyes kind. "Not everyone would have stopped for a stranger in this weather." Grace shrugged, a hint of a smile playing on her lips. "I just did what anyone should do. No one should be left out there alone." Word spread slowly. A few passing drivers mentioned the mechanic who worked through the storm without asking for a dime. Grace paid it no mind, focused on keeping her shop open one day at a time. One evening, as the sun dipped low, painting the sky with amber and rose, she sat on the steps of her garage, wiping sweat from her brow. Her phone buzzed, a message from a neighbor. "You might want to look outside." Curious, she stood and walked around the corner, her breath caught. Parked just beyond the gravel lot was a massive flatbed trailer gleaming in the fading light. It was loaded with shiny new equipment, a hydraulic lift, a full snap-on tool set, a commercial-grade compressor, all the tools she had only dreamed of having. A man in a delivery uniform stood nearby, smiling politely. "Grace Monroe," he called. She nodded, heart pounding. "We have a letter for you," he said, handing over a sealed envelope. Grace's hands trembled as she broke the seal. The words inside brought tears to her eyes. "My daughter ran a shop like yours," it began, "before cancer took her from us. I saw her in you. I couldn't save her shop, but maybe I can help save yours. Signed simply, Jack Rollins, retired CEO." For the first time in a long while, Grace felt the heavy weight on her shoulders begin to lift. Grace stood frozen for a moment, the letter trembling in her hands as the words sank in. Jack Rollins, the quiet trucker she helped on that stormy night, was more than just a man passing through. He was a retired CEO, a father who had lost his daughter to cancer and saw in Grace the same fire, the same determination that his daughter once carried. His gift was more than tools and equipment. It was a lifeline, a second chance. The delivery man waited patiently as tears welled in Grace's eyes. She swallowed hard and finally spoke, voice thick with emotion. "Please tell him thank you from the bottom of my heart." Neighbors had begun to gather around, drawn by the unusual sight of the flatbed trailer and the new hope blooming in Grace's eyes. The crowd stood silent for a beat, then applause broke out, slow at first, then growing louder, a community recognizing the strength and kindness of one of their own. Grace wiped her eyes, a rare smile breaking through as she looked at the gleaming tools, symbols of more than just mechanical work. They were a reminder that goodness echoes, that one night of compassion could ripple into something life-changing. She turned back toward her garage, ready to rebuild, not just with steel and bolts, but with the quiet power of a heart that never stopped helping. As the sun dipped beyond the hills and the laughter of her neighbors filled the air, Grace knew one thing for sure. Kindness never goes unnoticed, and sometimes it comes back to you in the most unexpected and beautiful ways. Mrs. Keller from the diner came forward, her face lighting up. "Grace, this is incredible. You deserve this." The days that followed were a whirlwind. Grace's small garage transformed almost overnight. The new hydraulic lift made heavy repairs easier, and the top-of-the-line snap-on tools gleamed beside her worn old wrenches, symbols of a past she wouldn't forget, but was ready to leave behind. The commercial compressor hummed with promise, filling the space with a new kind of energy. Grace took a moment one evening to stand back and look at the changes. Her old tools lay side by side with the new, a silent tribute to every struggle in every late night. She ran her fingers over the worn handle of a wrench she had used for years, a reminder of how far she'd come and how far she still wanted to go. Business slowly picked up. Word spread fast about the upgraded garage and the woman behind it. A skilled mechanic with a heart as big as her talent. Truckers stopped by not just for repairs, but to share stories and coffee. The town's sleepy vibe began to shift, brought to life by Grace's unyielding spirit and the gift that reminded her she was not alone. One quiet evening, as the sun dipped behind the hills, Grace stood outside her garage, watching the road. She thought of Jack Rollins, the man who changed everything with one simple act of kindness. Sometimes she realized the smallest moments, a hand extended in the rain, a refusal to ask for payment, could echo louder than a lifetime of work. Grace wiped a tear and smiled. For the first time in years, the future felt full of promise. The following weeks were a whirlwind of change. Grace's once quiet garage buzzed with energy and purpose. The new equipment transformed her daily work. Repairs that once took hours now finished with precision and speed. She no longer had to worry about outdated tools slowing her down. Instead, each turn of the wrench was sharper, more confident. Customers began to arrive more frequently, drawn by word of mouth and the unmistakable hum of a well-equipped shop. But beyond the tools and business, what moved Grace most was the reminder that kindness could truly come full circle. The memory of that rainy night, the moment she chose to help a stranded stranger without expecting anything in return, had grown into a ripple of hope that now filled her days. One afternoon, as she was finishing up a brake job on a dusty pickup truck, a familiar voice called out from the lot. Grace looked up to see Jack Rollins himself standing near the entrance, a faint smile on his weathered face. "I wanted to see how you're doing," he said simply, stepping inside. The years on the road had etched lines of experience and hardship on his face, but his eyes sparkled with quiet pride. Grace felt a swell of gratitude rise within her. "Jack, this place, it's changed so much thanks to you." He shook his head. "No, Grace, you changed it. I just helped you see what you already had." They talked for a while about life on the road, about loss and hope, and about the small moments that made all the difference. Jack revealed more about his daughter and how he recognized in Grace the same fierce spirit she had shown him that stormy night. The sun dipped low, casting long shadows across the garage. Jack stood to leave, but paused at the door. "Keep this up. You're making more than repairs here. You're building a future." As he drove away, Grace watched his truck disappear down the highway, her heart full. Around her, neighbors and customers gathered, their smiles and greetings, a testament to the community she had helped strengthen. Grace wiped her hands and took a deep breath, looking around at the bustling garage that once teetered on the edge of closing. Now it was alive, full of promise and purpose. Sometimes, she thought, it takes just one act of kindness to ignite a lifetime of change. Months had passed since that stormy night when Grace had made a simple choice: to help a stranger without expecting anything in return. Now her small garage was a hub of activity and warmth, a place where hard work and kindness met to create something greater than either alone. Grace stood by the open garage door one crisp morning, watching as trucks came and went, their engines humming like a chorus of renewed hope. The air smelled of oil and fresh paint, but beneath it all was something more profound, a sense of community, connection, and purpose. Jack Rollins's gift had done more than supply tools. It had given Grace the confidence to believe in herself again. Her talents, once overlooked and undervalued, were now celebrated by truckers and townsfolk alike. She mentored young mechanics eager to learn, sharing not just skills, but the lesson that kindness could open doors no wrench ever could. One afternoon, as the sun cast long shadows, Grace found herself back at the spot where she first helped Jack. A letter lay on the counter, this time from a local trucking association, inviting her to speak at an upcoming event about the power of goodwill in tough times. She smiled softly, remembering the storm and the stranger who changed everything with one act of generosity. As the day drew to a close, Grace wiped her hands and looked out over her thriving garage. The flatbed trailer that had brought her new tools remained parked nearby, a symbol of a turning point, of hope born from unexpected kindness. Grace knew now that sometimes the smallest moments could echo louder than a lifetime of effort. And for her, the road ahead was no longer uncertain, but filled with promise. Grace didn't just fix engines. She repaired hope, one act of kindness at a time. If this story moved you, hit that like button, share it with someone who needs a little faith in the world, and don't forget to subscribe for more stories that warm the heart and inspire the soul.